Mr. Developer Kurt, that we're highly automating all parts of this product so that we're not relying on manual testing. So I would assume you're going to have to mock that type of information anyway. So help me understand what the real constraint is that makes us implement login first. If it's legit, then heck, I'm going to really hear that. The other thing that I commonly hear is, well, we're in there, it'll just be faster.
Yep.
And you know what? I get that as a developer too, but that's a place where I typically push back because we hear a lot of, well, I was in there, so I just did whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean that that was a good investment. And if I'm not really sure if we're going to need that thing, I don't care if you're in there and maybe you're 5% more efficient building that thing because you're in there.
Right.
We haven't determined yet if we need that thing. Please don't build it yet, because once we build it, we're going to have to support it.
That makes sense. I've experienced all those things before, and I think because I also have a development background, I feel comfortable having some of those conversations. But what if I'm not a very technical product manager and the team is telling me I'm making bad choices?
Yeah.
How do I figure out what the right answer is? What are some ways that you would coach somebody in making that happen?
Yeah, so I get this question a lot, and it's a really good one. Again, I go back to having this shared context where the team on both sides feels like they can share, this is my perspective, this is my concern from the customer value side, this is my concern from the tech side. And then personally, as a product manager, I would typically find someone on the team, and it wasn't usually the technical lead, but someone on the team who might be one of those quiet people that doesn't say a lot, that I really trusted that I would talk to on the side, not in front of anyone, asking him or her, can you explain this to me, and is this bogus? And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah.
Just even if they just arm you with some questions, and then do the best you can to understand as much as you can at your level of technical expertise, so that one trap I see a lot of product owners and product managers fall into is, you know what, that's not my problem. And I'm sorry, actually it is. I mean, you shouldn't have to sit down and write Java code or something, but the health of your tech stack and doing things for the long-term interest of your tech stack are very much your problem. Because and that's why this word product owner is so awesome over our traditional word of product manager, because you own all of it. Yeah. But developers or engineers, bless their hearts, and engineers want to solve problems and make things perfect. So we're there to kind of sometimes be the adult in the room and say, I appreciate that you want to make that perfect, but 90% is what we can afford, and it's good enough. Right.
And I think I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think that is not necessarily a structure problem or a framework problem. It's a leadership problem, because you have to let people know what they're actually being incentivized for, what the goals actually are, what they're going to get a pat on the back for. Is it bug-free software, or are they helping solve a problem iteratively, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, there's nothing more dangerous than a zero defect mentality. And there's a time and a place for that. If my life was on the line, I mean, if we're Boeing and we're building software for aircraft and people could die, or we're launching the space shuttle and people could die, it's a little different. But applying that same type of rigor of quality to a website is insanely expensive. There's so many times that it's just cheaper to discover and fix the bug than it is to plan for these things and try to patch every hole.
What I've seen is the role of the product manager or product owner is ill-defined. There's no real standardization of it. What I've seen in other places is it's just the role that marketing and development doesn't want to do. If I'm stuck in that position, and let's go back to that, maybe I'm the single product manager, or maybe there's one or two of us there, but we all do kind of different jobs. How would you coach somebody on helping try to standardize what they're doing? Not necessarily just for their role, but maybe for the organization. Maybe they're trying to champion that process and that standardization. Where's a good place to start?
I'll tell you what we teach. We really kind of teach that on a product team, there's going to be two cadences at all times. There's going to be a discovery cadence and a delivery cadence. And please note that I said on a team. This is one team, but two cadences. Sometimes people will hear me to say it's two different teams, and it very much should not be. The product manager or product owner is very much leading the discovery cadence, but he or she shouldn't be alone, depending on the needs of the application. There's likely UX people at the table, maybe more technical product owners, those types of things. But the responsibility of the discovery cadence and ultimately the product owner is to answer three questions. Why are we doing this? What are we doing? And in what order should we do it? Then with respect to the delivery cadence, I would say the responsibility of the delivery cadence and the leader of that cadence, and again, it is likely multiple people, is to answer the questions, how do we do it and how much can we do? That sets us up in a position of a natural conflict. Sometimes it's unhealthy, but often I think it's a healthy check and balance, wherein we can offer opinions to the other people's questions, and we all certainly do and should. But when kind of the rubber meets the road, that gives us a distinction of who owns what. And the product manager, it's a tough gig. I think the reason because it's a tough gig is you absolutely have to be able to effectively influence without authority. I am yet to come to a situation where the team reported to the product manager. And I can only imagine how scary that might be. So the product manager is always an influencer, someone that says, follow me, let's do it. The very best ones are storytellers, that they can really pitch that product vision, get people excited about it so that they want to follow them. I appreciate that time in my career as a product manager because it has made me such a better coach to build those influencing skills, because coaches have to have those skills too. And at all levels of leadership, as I've had the opportunity to climb to higher levels of leadership, it's like mythical, really, that anyone can lead with authority. You have to influence. You have to influence up. You have to influence down. You certainly have to influence across, which is the most leading your peers is by far, in my opinion, the most difficult type of leadership. So all you product owners out there, product managers, even on your bad days, you're getting these really awesome street skills of being able to influence without authority.
Historically, as a leader in projects and product, I run across a wide variety of characters and personalities. And I've had people where I've gone to them and tried to coach them and say, look, you've got to be more influential. You've got to be that storyteller. You've got to do all these things. And I've had people look me dead in the eye and say, well, I don't like that politics side of things. I don't want to be involved in politics. And I'm like, see, politics is a negative word for what I'm asking you to do. I don't know why you would take it that way, but have you run into that where people are like, okay, great, Anne, thanks for telling me I need to go and influence people, but I don't really want to do that. I want them just to get the work done. I don't want to. That seems like a waste of my time.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, was having this conversation about politics. We were calling it gamesmanship, but with a client just yesterday.
Okay.
And this exact topic came up. They said, hey, and it was a group of coaches. He said, we as a group of coaches, we shouldn't have to play this. And I said, well, you absolutely do. But here's the thing. Do it for good. If you feel that way, do it for good. But you have to do it. It's part of how the world works. It doesn't mean you need to be slimy and throw your mom under the bus or anything. It's just how the world works. And the higher up you go, the more necessary this is going to be. So sharpen these skills now, but just do it for good. You're advocating for your product. And your product, if it proves to be successful, is going to provide a lot of value and help people and help your business and ultimately help your team. So advocate for it.
Right. And that's a great story to tell, right? You got to find, because what I found is that the people that kind of reject that gamesmanship, I really like that you put it that way, the gamesmanship of it, are people that aren't really invested in the success of the product or the customer in the first place, because they're not passionate, for lack of a better word, about solving those problems. And so that's one warning sign that I've seen with other people, because I do a lot of career coaching as well. And I tell people, if you don't feel like you want to get involved in the air quotes politics side of it or the gamesmanship side of it, you should maybe really take a moment and hold up the mirror and say, am I in the right place? Am I excited about this product and solving these problems? Because the answer might be no.
Yeah. And I would also challenge, are you in the right place in terms of the right organization?
Yeah.
I've been in organizations where I got to the point of I'm not playing anymore because it's not winnable, or I'm not personally willing to do the things I would have to do. But you know what? That was just the wrong organization. It wasn't that the gamesmanship was something that I shouldn't do or I should run away from. It was, you should run away from toxic work organizations. There are a lot of really awesome places to work out there. If you're not at one of them, go find one.
Yeah. Where do you see the biggest opportunity? Let's get out the crystal ball here for a second, right? Let's look at the next few years in product management and product ownership. If I want to either move into that role or I'm currently in that role, what are some of the things I should be working on now? What are some of the things I should be focused on understanding and learning coming up is it technologies? Should I be learning more about machine learning and AI and all this other stuff? Should I be spending more time on the leadership side of things? What's your opinion, Anne?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Just thinking through, there's so many different things. I would say definitely kind of seek to holistically understand business, and regardless of what we make and how much we want to make the world a better place, very few of us have the opportunity to do that in the vacuum of making money. So that would be one thing. And again, make money for good.
Yep.
Beyond that, I think you should chase what you're really into. I mean, you don't have to have deep knowledge of machine learning to be a product manager, but if you're really into that, go be a product manager in that space. I think that's a cool thing about product management is like whatever it is that we geek out on, there's products around that, and we could be a part of that. And think about the products that you use that excite you. I did a job interview with Google a few years ago, and they just asked me to pick a product and to sell it to them on the phone, probably trying to see if I would sell based on features or based on value. And for some reason, it was on a call, and so I'm just walking around my living room, and I just picked up my TV remote and sold the TV remote. I did get a second interview. I didn't get the job, so you guys can take this for what it's worth. But so I just go after something you're passionate about, I guess, is my message. And I took a non-traditional way because I was passionate about software, and the software industry led me to product management. And I think we see product managers that are like that, and then we see product managers that come from the industry, and there's no right or wrong. It's all good. But
yeah, because I think to that point, the non-standardization currently of the role within organizations, there's really not a traditional career path to get to it. I think it leads to a lot of what people refer to like as imposter syndrome sometimes in today's world, and how they feel like, okay, well, I have all this authority around, I'm the voice of the customer, I'm the CEO, air quotes, of the product, and all those things. But I kind of don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's that, and then there's the other side where it's just blatant arrogance. I don't think of the product manager, product owner as the voice of the customer. Try not to be the mouth, be the ear. Because the very best product owners are just like this huge ear that's taking in information from all of these different sources, because it's more than just the customer too. There's a reason they don't call us the customer owner. Right. The user experience team has the privilege of just advocating for the user. As product people, we have to advocate for so much more than just the customer or just the user, because we have the business, we have the technology, we have all of these things to look after. But be that ear, listen, take in all of that information as best you can objectively, and then make a call. And just like we were talking about umpiring, you're going to be wrong sometimes. Figure out you're wrong quickly, and then just make another call and keep going. The imposter syndrome thing, I face that all the time. And, I just remind yourself, hey, you're right. 75% of the time, 80% of the time, or you probably wouldn't be here. So the rest of the time, you're better off making a call, playing those odds that you're right 75% of the time than not.
Yeah.
The worst decision is to make no decision.
Yeah, and to your point there, take some of your own medicine, because if you believe in delivering iterative